Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. Big up your damn selves in the building. Yes, the old glasses are back because the new glasses have escaped me, and a blind person trying to look for glasses is definitely not. It doesn't really make any sense, to be honest. It goes very poorly, very well. Younes, my brother, talk to me. How are you doing? Welcome back in the building, brother.
Thank you very much, man. I was gonna make like a Velma Scooby-Doo joke, but there's no need. Yeah, man, I'm good, man. Life's a little calmer, isn't it? Well, unless we're talking about certain topics, which we'll get to. But overall, life is a little calmer, which is nice. We finally get to come on here without any panic or any madness going on, thinking we're going to get relegated. So it's looking good.
100%. And Miz, my brother, how are you? How are you doing? It's been a pleasure.
Good, man. Good. Obviously, a bit exhausted with the little one, but it is what it is, man. You just gotta just.
You threw yourself right back into the firing line.
I have, bro. But you gotta pump through it, man. You gotta be a man and just do what needs to be done. So I'm here, bro. I'm here.
No, pleasure, man. Because I don't know what it's like, but if I could envision what it's like, I don't know how you're doing it, mixing the family with the YouTube, with the work.
Well, don't worry. One day you will know.
No.
and then I will tell you, Matisse. I know.
I don't want to know anytime soon. I don't want to know. I'm afraid. Today, people, the first topic. People keep asking me about Mason Mount. Could go to Liverpool. He's been linked. It now seems more likely that he's going to leave than he's going to actually stay, which I never thought I'd actually say, to be honest, because he's been such an integral part for former managers. They've played him. They've almost played him into the ground, played him out of position sometimes. He's literally been a you must type player. He's every single game, Mason Mount in the team. And he's performed, I think, over the course of the last couple of years, very well on the whole. I think this is his first outrightly poor season. The rest of them were definitely character building, and some better than others. But today I want to challenge, or I want to take on what I feel is Matt Law just apps. And I don't speak about journalists very often, and I don't really want to, but I feel like I have to, because what I see him doing out there right now is almost purposefully trying to cause chaos around Mason Mount's name for clicks. That's what I see as. And people will say to me, oh, no, he's just reporting the news. No, he's actually given opinion as well. He's given opinion. And his opinion obviously comes from himself. It's like everybody's opinion's got a little bit of bias in it. I remember when Rudiger, when there was a time to maybe defend him from online abuse, when Lampard was sacked, that was not a course of action that was taken by said journalist. In fact, it was to lamp up the pressure, so to speak, because apparently he was part of the reason why he was sacked and all of these things and all of that. Jorginho, many examples of where this journalist has not defended a player from online abuse. So it's not a consistent theme. It's not something that he does every single time. It's something that he does for every single player. He picks and chooses which player he wants to defend, and that's just clear. You can go and find in the archives all of the reports and the opinion pieces. And I want you to really look at the opinion pieces more so, because sometimes people take his opinions as news. It's not really news. It's his opinion. It's an opinion piece. And you can go back through the years on these two players in particular, and you'll see that it's not consistent, him protecting them from online abuse, like he says. And I feel like, and I'll start with you, Younes. People think, and people that don't want to address it, I've had this on my tweet already this morning, they'll say I'm justifying it. I'm not justifying anything. I'm not justifying any abuse for Mason Mount or any player in particular. Those people are still wrong. What I don't like is when people purposefully, in my opinion, make stupid statements like look at Mount and Gerrard and Lampard's numbers and put them next to each other. You yourself are not, you're not trying to help. Let's be very clear. You're not trying to help. Nobody's thick, nobody's stupid. Those people that are abusing them are still wrong, but you know exactly what you're doing. Don't try and play innocent and oh, it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion for a lot of people that they want him sold. I don't even particularly agree. I'm at a point where I don't really care, but it's just an opinion. But you'll call that abuse. If someone says, I want Mason Mount to be sold, that's abuse, right? But when someone compares him to some of the greatest footballers of all time to purposefully churn up more rubbish on the TL and more problems for the player, something that I know for a fact the player would not appreciate, being compared to these two players in his worst form of his career.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly what you're doing, bro, isn't it? He knows exactly what he's doing. These people.
This is the thing. I've not got anything wrong with anyone coming on a platform and giving their opinion, as far as I'm concerned. Matt Law can do that as well. But with Matt Law and a lot of these other guys, like as journalists, right? As I've said, you've said it, a lot of people look to them for news. So when they see this, right, they automatically portray, okay, now this is news, right? And then they see the comparisons and they're like, oh, well, what? Like, and this is where it's a little bit, I feel like it's a bit unnecessary, even for Mason Mount. And I said this on my video yesterday when I did pluck out that stat, because comparing Mount with Gerrard and Lampard, with two players that had finished their careers, that were consistent enough to go all the way to the end and keep themselves at a high level for every single season that they played in up until they retired, right? Mount's not there, you know? I counted it with a stat that I'd seen where Dele Alli, after 63 Premier League games, had a higher output than Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, and Wayne Rooney. But where's Dele Alli now?
Yeah,
he's, as Jose said, he's regretting. He's in Turkey.
He's having a mixed plate, bro.
This is the thing, but he's tucking into those beautiful kebabs and baklavas and man, lamachun and all sorts of Turkish food.
Maybe he had a plan, Younes. Maybe he had a plan.
Maybe he's a smart guy, Maybe the menu over there was too irresistible. But anyway, this is the thing. If you're taking those sort of stats, they don't mean anything unless if the player is consistent and is going to keep himself at a level where you can't deny that, he can't be dropped. This is where I said yesterday, Lampard, throughout his career, even when he was young, you looked at Lampard, anyone ever go, we got to drop him? Never happened. Was he droppable? No, he was undroppable. Steven Gerrard, was he droppable? No, he's undroppable. Paul Scholes, undroppable. These are guys that no matter how young or old they got to throughout every single season, the first name on the team sheet. Mount's reached a point where there's a lot of doubt even about that now. Chelsea, if he were to go, Chelsea will be fine. Whereas if we were to let go of Lampard, for example, massive hole in the midfield, to try and replace that is unbelievable. Gerrard at Liverpool, unbelievable. So it doesn't even do justice for Mason. We've already, we had the comparisons when Lampard brought him up from the academy. And, he's the next Lamps, Mason Mount is going to be the next Lampard. We all came to an agreement, right? I think it's pretty obvious knowledge that it's not good for the player to make those comparisons. Or it's the next Lampard, or it's the next Drogba, or the best thing, and Mason would agree here, I think, is he wants to be his own man. So to try and pluck out those comparisons isn't going to help anybody. Isn't going to help anyone. And I think Matt Law is probably one of the first to already know that. So seeing the stat yesterday kind of did surprise me in making those comparisons. And right now, as you've said, from the form that Mount has been in and the fact that he's not been playing, and that's been justified because some people have made the point that we've won without him. Matt Law went on to say, well, we've won without Reese James and Silva too then, which is a point. But again, it's ultra protection on Mount, whilst when he is playing, isn't actually proving or showing much at the moment in this bad form. So it's not helping at all. Overall, it's just not helping at all. And as I've said, it's getting clearer and clearer that he's going to leave. So this almost becomes unnecessary. When you just look at it, it's what's the point? Because the problem isn't his ability as a footballer. We know he's a good footballer. The problem is, are they going to agree a contract? Which right now doesn't look like it's happening. And I've already said, I think he's going. I've already come to terms. I think he's leaving.
Yeah, but it feels like he's trying to influence the contract. And this is where I feel like and I'm just going to say it for what it is. I feel like he is now almost being paid by Tony Mount, his agent, right, to put out this circling of news. Tony
Mount is Mason's agent.
Yeah.
Well, is his dad, but okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's his new agent. I also saw that Mason Mount, according to the reports, has got a new PR team. A new PR team's been put out there as well. Now, funnily enough, if the PR team thinks that it's a good idea for these type of articles to come out, I think they've got it horribly wrong. Because when you look at Rashford's new PR team and all these other, they don't make stupid comparisons. They don't have their journalists making stupid comparisons to players that are some of the best players this league has ever seen. That is not good PR. Maybe it looks on the surface like good PR. It's not good PR at all. It's terrible PR. It just puts more pressure onto you as a player. But I think he's almost being paid off, or at least he's been. That's what his source is, right? To link him with Manchester City. I believe the Liverpool links. I believe that big clubs want him. But when you start, and even if Man City do want him, when you start literally almost pleading as an Aston Villa fan that is a journalist, when you start pleading and saying, oh, you absolutely have to give him a new contract because, he's been the top 3 players in the last 2 years, and, he's on the same trajectory as Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, and you start almost, you're just begging for the new contract. Now I'm thinking, why are you so invested? It doesn't make any sense. You're meant to be reporting the news, right? And maybe giving an opinion here and there, but it's like you're now forcing it down the throat. It tells me like you're trying to start up propaganda to kind of almost, and this is where the Man City link, I'm starting to think, are you purposefully trying to force a link to Manchester City to try and put pressure on Todd Boehly and the consortium to put the money up in terms of the contract? Because that's what happens in football. People do it all the time. Screen. Yeah, smokescreen. People do it all the time. They create a fake link to a big club. Our club has been used for this many times where we're not actually interested in the player, but the agent has linked a player to our club. And then for that reason, they've got a new contract. The same could be happening here with Manchester City in particular. I think Liverpool genuinely do want him. I wouldn't surprise me. I think he's more than good enough to go into that Liverpool midfield. And I think he starts for them and he actually does much better than a lot of Liverpool fans and Chelsea fans think. I think he suits Klopp perfectly. The Pep one, though, the Man City one, I'm not quite buying it. I feel like you're trying to force that one. What do you think, Miz?
Come on, bro. You saw the way Man City played yesterday against Leipzig. Gundogan, KDB, look at the way they press. Look at the way Pep Guardiola and his tactics of using John Stones as a double pivot player with the ball, and then without the ball, he tucks in as a right back, which allows for KDB and Gundogan to be further up, closer to her. There's a different beast that's happening in Man City. Like, it's not just about pressing. It's not. You got to be technically so gifted. And
exactly.
Once again, honestly, to all the people that are going to watch this and everything that Matisse said is pretty much, I've said on my channel, and I've said it here as well previously whenever we talked about Mason Mount. Honestly, I'll say it right now. Put my hand together. Don't beat us up for it. Don't beat us up for it. I'm being very respectful when I'm saying Mason Mount's a good player, but he's not. He's not as many think. Like, he's not at the top of the pedestal. He's an okay player. Can he get better? Of course he can. I always say to myself, boys, that back in the golden generation, when we had the likes of Ballack, Lampard, Essien, Mikel, and all of those other superstars, honestly speaking, if Mount was in that generation, would he be even in the bench?
No.
Tell me honestly. People keep telling me, but Miz, he was our best player for the last couple of years. He won 2 back-to-back player of the seasons. We've been shambolic. We've not been good, man. No one really rose up to the challenge. And in those times, Mason Mount stood out. Let's take Mason in a situation where there is a plethora of superstars. Does he stand up then? I personally think he doesn't. But even then, I'm okay for having Mason Mount at Chelsea Football Club as a big part player, as a rotational player. I think he adds the versatility. I think he'll give us something off the bench, but it's up to him whether he can accept that. Is he able to accept that role at Chelsea Football Club? And this is the thing, man. The other thing we need to realize, do you know Chelsea Football Club has given him a contract? Like, people tend to think that, Chelsea doing a dirty on me. Hey, Chelsea's actually given him a contract extension. The offer is there. It's not that Chelsea's... He's just saying no.
Yeah.
We need to we need to factor this in. Chelsea, apparently, as far as I'm concerned, from the Athletic, the last I saw from Simon Johnson,
180k.
106. Oh, was it 180? I thought it was 160 or something.
180. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's even better than what I thought. 180. Your brother, you're on 75. That's more than double.
I think
Now,
the
some
issue is the
people-
contract length, isn't it?
Time. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Now, I understand where he's coming from because they're almost trying to preserve him for his best years on that 180. And then when he gets to 30, where he's looking for his big contract, and they might even let him go. Similar model is being used at Liverpool with Salah. Mane obviously lost out to Bayern Munich. He was on quite a low wage.
Matisse, Julian Alvarez at Man City just got himself a new contract after signing for 1 year. Like he just signed last season, right? He signed in the summer. Or just before the summer. He was one of those special signings they did just before the summer with River Plate. I think he was on a 5-year contract. Julian Alvarez, because there was a lot of issues. Julian Alvarez, there was a small window a few weeks ago. He's not happy. He wants to move because obviously he's a world champion. Erling Haaland is getting all the starting time over there, and rightly so. It's going to be very difficult for you to dismantle Erling Haaland when he's scoring 5 in a Champions League night. But Man City has realized that this player, World Cup champion, has done very well in the World Cup. Now, we want to preserve him. We want to keep him at City. They've given him a new contract now, which added another year on top of what they already had with a higher salary. So with Mason Mount, brother, just because you sign something up for 6-7 years, that don't mean you have to stay there forever. Things can change. I think the real issue is, Matisse, I don't really... yes, the term is an issue. Do you know what the real issue is, Matisse, in my personal opinion? It's the incentivized way of earning money. I think he's got a bit of an issue with because he's seeing all these other brothers are getting good, healthy base salaries. There is a situation that's gone on that if Chelsea miss out on Champions League, some of the players that we got in the summer, the new contracts, and obviously all these ones, the Enzos and the Mudriks and the Maduekes, they will get a cut in their pay. It's in their contract. If you lose out on Champions League, in order for Chelsea to maintain financially, we will have to reduce your pay a little bit. And on top of that, in order to earn more, so you get a base, but in order to earn more, you will have to hit bonuses. You will have to, it's all incentivized. Number of goals, number of assists, silverware, so on and so forth. I personally think that's the issue here. Because for Mason, then it becomes, well, I know it sounds crazy, boys, but he almost thinks, well, I can't guarantee that my form is going to be perfect.
You can't guarantee you're going to be playing as well, isn't it? Now,
exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is, I have absolutely no problem with Mason Mount not signing that contract. I won't look at him any differently if he doesn't sign it.
Exactly.
It's business. At the end of the day, I can understand why he feels like he warrants more money than that, because he's seen other players in this club earn more money than that, and he's contributed more than them. He's been one of our best players in the last 2 years, statistically, and then from an eye test standpoint in the first year as well, and the second year statistically. I don't think he was the best. I've always said it in the second year where he got more GA, but he was at least, doing something where a lot of people wasn't. So I can understand why he feels like he should be on 200 or 220. But they obviously are trying to bring the wage bill down. His form is poor, and they don't feel like he's worth that currently. So there's always going to be a standoff. However they work this out is their own business. I have no problem with whatever the outcome is, because I'll understand it on both sides. What I don't understand is other people trying to play dumb and pulling up stats of a player that's been playing in the front three and comparing them to midfielders and trying to pretend like as if those stats are the same thing. It's funny because I have a similar stat here. Messi, 110 games, his first 110 games, 42 goals, 27 assists. Similar to your Dele Alli point, Younes. Kai Havertz, 143 games, 43 goals, 30 assists. 153 games for Ronaldo, 27 goals, 30 assists. So that puts Kai Havertz right in the middle of Messi and Ronaldo in his first 143 games.
There you are.
Stats, bro.
Stats, bro. Stats. But then, so funny is that when the stats don't favor the favorite player of certain people, then oh no, just don't look at the stats. You know, you look at what's happening on the pitch, but then look at the stats. You know, again, just balance, just brains. Use your brain.
Gotta be honest. This is the thing, and there's also a point here that well, no, if Reese James got it, then Mason should have it because you know he's contributed as much. We got to put this to the floor, right? And I think everyone watching in the comments, while this is on, can contribute. Does anyone doubt that Reese James should not be in the starting 11?
No. When he's fit,
I think
everyone,
there's no doubt.
Everyone looks at Reese James and goes, brilliant. Some would even go the extra mile. World class, best right back in the land, best right back in the world. Some would even say, right? But he's discussed in that bracket, right? No one says, "No, Reese James shouldn't play." It's undeniable.
Yeah.
Should Mason Mount be in the starting 11?
Depends.
Now you'll get people that say yes.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get people that say no. There's an entire debate there. Well, why is there a debate? People are not stupid, right? Some people prefer, absolutely fine. Some people don't, absolutely fine. But the point is, when it comes to someone like Reese James, everyone just knows, nah, mate, he's in the team. There's no denying. So to try and say that, oh no, they're on the same level, nah, they're not. Reese James has proven in terms of the level that's needed consistently. The one thing that's just let him down is injuries, which he can't help. It is what it is. But whenever he plays, you just know you've got a top player there. You can't say the same for Mason. You can't. So this is where I feel when that point is made of, oh no, you know, Reese is on whatever, now Mason's got to be on the same. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Younes, this is a very interesting point now because now it takes the conversation to a different angle. I want to ask you, why though? Why do people think like that for Mason? Like what you just said, for Reese James, it's undeniable, right? He's got to be in the team. Why do certain fan base think, nah, Mason Mount, it's also undeniable? Why do some fans... Like, it's clear as daylight for all of us to see that he's a good player, but he's not undeniable. Like, especially in this formation that we're playing, three at the back. Does he play in the double pivot? I don't think so. Does he play up front in the front three? I don't think so. Is he good enough to play in the half spaces? Turn, take the ball with his back against the defender, turn, drive, find the key passes? I don't think he's got the technical ability. So why do... And let's be honest, there is a large portion of the fan base that thinks he should be equally undeniable as Reese James. I would love to hear what you both have to say because I'm starting to think it's Mace. Like he's the poster boy. He's the guy who was handed over from Frank Lampard. He, in essence, is Frank Lampard reborn. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's a symbolic thing. Do you know why don't people talk about Reese James? Why hasn't Matt Law talked about Reese James in that level? Where was Matt Law when Reese James' contract extension was happening? Where was Matt Law for Tammy Abraham? Where was Matt Law for Tomori? Where was Matt Law for Chalobah? Where was Matt Law for Billy Gilmore? Where was Matt Law for all other academy players? Why is it just so special for Mace? This is what I really want to hear from you guys because you guys live in UK. Yeah. A lot of people tell me, Miz, you will never understand. You don't live in you're not proper Chels. Like, you will not understand. You're not a match goer. I want to hear from you guys. Why is it like that for Mason now?
I honestly think, right, and you've put a point onto it. You could say with Reese, for example, like the point I made. You just can't deny. There's no point plucking stats out for Reese James. His performances speak for itself. Like you don't need no stat. There's just no point, But for Mace, there's also a sense of trying to justify it because there are people that don't believe in Mason Mount, as some others do. I honestly think that with the good start he had, and the fact that it's Lampard that promoted them from the academy into the first team and whatnot. It is the point of Mace is seen as the new poster boy. He is the face, right? And right now, his performances are not living up to expectation when being the face, right? I feel if there was just less pressure on Mason Mount, right? People probably won't be talking about him as much as they do. If he wasn't, and this is, to be honest, this is no fault of his own. If he wasn't being pushed as the poster boy of Chelsea, as there's the new kid on the block at Chelsea Football Club that's going to take Chelsea to the next level, right? He's been portrayed as that guy, and I feel like that's an English media thing. I don't feel that really happens in other countries unless you're Ronaldo. Right, like that's because it's flipping Cristiano. But here in this country, unlike before, this is the point I made yesterday. Was Lampard pushed at 23 or 24? As you know, no, he wasn't. He was just let on to play his football.
Yeah.
Was Gerrard pushed? No. Back then, there wasn't really much pressure on footballers of that level. I remember when Michael Owen burst on the scene and scored that goal for England against Argentina, and there was a bit of pressure there because he's so young and look what he's done and whatnot, and that came back to bite him later, especially when he started getting injuries. Everyone was just like, you know what, maybe not. Good striker, but didn't last very long. Theo Walcott, when he burst on the scene at 16, 17, I was like, who's this young kid? Bish bash boss, pressure, boom, stagnates, don't hear about him again, right? With Mason Mount, I feel like he's a victim to it. I feel like in terms of what the British media have done to just portray him as, he is going to be a fantastic, unbelievable player. To let him play his football, like that will come. That will come with time, and he will either do it or not. But at Chelsea, I feel like because there hasn't been anyone else in that time. When we had the transfer ban, we had all of that. There hasn't been anyone in the squad that could take up that image of the guy. And I feel like he's just been pushed as it, decent looking lad, inbreds exactly what Common is about, what Chelsea's about, those values, is very well spoken, is very professional, does, he's a nice kid, knows how to talk. He just suits everything that the media would want in a
Chelsea boy.
Yeah. So
yeah, and on top of that, the performances in the first Player of the Year season, and then obviously he picks up Player of the Year the second season with a lot of goals and a lot of assists. That gets people excited, right? That builds up the pressure. That gets people thinking. That gets people tweeting. He's going to be here forever, and Mason's going to be one of the leading stars in this Chelsea team. And football doesn't work like that. It's not linear. Sometimes you can have a bad season. Sometimes managers can change and people can fall victim to that. Same happened to Juan Mata. He was on a whole nother level, in my opinion. Juan Mata was having 2 Player of the Year seasons for Chelsea. I'm sure everybody will remember. Yeah. Brilliant for Chelsea. Jose Mourinho comes in, finished. You're not welcome here no more. You're not needed. Onto the bench and out you go. People have to accept this is football. People have to accept this is how football can go. You can never predict anything that happens in football. It's why I try not to get too emotionally attached to any said individual and try and stay with the club. If I'm a big João Felix fan, which I am, and he doesn't get signed on, I will move on with my life. And I'm not going to make too much of a fuss about it because it's a lot of money and Cuckoo's coming in, we move. If Enzo in 5 years' time ends up going to Real Madrid, I'll be sad about it for a day or two because I love the player. It's really important to us. I know Adrian warned me about this as well. And then I will move on. But it feels like people just can't get to grips. And I get it. People are very emotionally connected. This is an emotional sport. But it's like people can't even fathom how on earth could Mason Mount be leaving and go into a team like Liverpool potentially to work with Klopp. Well, you're seeing it right in front of your eyes. He's not been good this season. And guess what? When he was performing as Player of the Year for the last 2 seasons, that was not in a Chelsea title-winning team. That was not in the creme de la creme of a Chelsea team. So there are still levels to go. There is still developing to do. And if you do not do said development for whatever reason, it's not always your own fault. Could be managers playing you out of position. Could be managers overplaying you. But again, this is the context of football. If you do not continue to raise your levels, you could potentially be replaced or left behind by other players coming in. And that's what this ownership have done by bringing in Enzo Fernandez. Because now with Enzo Fernandez in the team, playing the passes he's playing, people want to create this Mason Mount versus Felix. Don't worry about Felix. Felix is the least of your problems. Your big problem is Enzo Fernandez because he's undeniably changing the way this team operates. So don't worry about Felix because Nkuku's coming in anyway. So with Felix goes out and Nkuku goes in, same position, same problem for Mason Mount in that 10. You worry about Enzo Fernandez in any midfield, in a 2 or in a 3, because he will be the most advanced. He will be the pass master in that team at the moment, the way he's playing. And that is a direct threat to Mason Mount. And you only have to look at players like Gallagher and players like Loftus-Cheek and players like Trevor Chalobah who have been able to grasp and accept potentially that they will be squad players and they will be used here and there willy-nilly. The way that Mason Mount has been brought up to the, and obviously he's performed at a higher level to these guys, so it's understandable, like I said, but the way that he's been propelled up to the top of the food chain in terms of, you know, media and frenzy and, you know, and he's going to be here forever and ever and ever, he's not going to maybe be able to accept those roles that Gallagher and Loftus-Cheek and Trevor Chalobah are playing in. And I'm not expecting him to accept it, which is why I said, if he does not sign that new contract, I can understand why, because he wants to be a starter. He's in that England team. He's used to starting games. The same as Tammy Abraham when he had his starting season at Chelsea. He was starting every single game after that transfer ban. He was top scorer. And then he was benched the season after for newcomers. And he said, bro, I want to be a starter. I've got that starting. You know, when players are just used to starting games, they don't want to let that go. So off he goes to Roma and we wish him good luck. But if you're starting quality that you're bringing to the team in terms of your passing, in terms of your vision, in terms of your creativity is not high enough to take Chelsea to a Premier League, which we don't know yet, but unfortunately somebody's already come in that is playing better than you, then unfortunately you're gonna struggle to start games. This is what happens at Chelsea. And we haven't reached that top level yet. With you as player of the year, we was challenging for top 4. We won the Champions League. I think we can all accept that that is a little bit of a flash in the pan situation, Champions League win. Credit to everyone involved. But we have not won the Premier League and you be the best player in that team. That puts you on another level because now you're doing it in a top team. Winning player of the year at City when they win the league and winning player of the year at Chelsea when they're fighting for top 4 is 2 different player of the years because there's a higher level to go to. And unfortunately, that is where that gap and in your comparison to Reese James, like you said, Reese James looks like a player that can perform no matter what gear we go to. Hence why Real Madrid were interested. And they forget the context. Real Madrid was interested. Real Madrid.
Man City as well.
Man City as well. But I believe those links were very real.
They're real.
They're very real. The Liverpool link, I believe, for Mason Mount, I don't believe that City link. I'm not buying it. I don't know if the ownership are buying it either. Now, if he goes into one of these other rival teams, he's going to do well for them. And we're potentially going to be caught, you know, by a goal from him or, you know, it's going to be weird. I'm not going to lie. But they're willing to pay that price because they feel like they've got players in this area that can be equal or better than. And that's what happens.
And this is why I want to circle it back to Matt Law, right? And I get it. I think we've all established that he's got a right to have an opinion. We all have a right to have an opinion. No problems. But when he uses language like online trolling fans or something around that, I feel like saying, Matt Law, if anything, you're probably one of the biggest online trolls out there. Like, look at the way you've created that article when Lamps got sacked and you completely blamed it all on Rudiger, which later on, it was widely reported that Rudiger had nothing to do with Lampard getting sacked. Lampard had bigger issues than Rudiger. Lampard just didn't know what was going on anymore, with that particular team. He was just sinking. Then there was a whole heap of other stuff recently. I think Matt Law came with an article in regards to Kai Havertz saying that lacks any type of character, should be sold. Like, we're not going to forget. Like, Matt Law, you are probably one of the biggest trolls out there. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you've got a large following. There's a lot of people that read your stuff and really respect your articles a lot. There's a lot. There's people like us who can see through certain things, but then there's a lot that read through his stuff and will buy it. So when he says online trolls, fans that are trolling Mason, it will be a effing disgrace if Chelsea sells Mason Mount. Like, these are some of the quotes that's getting floated around. You are creating a divide in the fan base, my man. You're creating chaos. You're creating confusion.
Sounds like somebody that's very emotionally attached to the situation, which is why I bring the agent and the dad involved.
Yeah,
I think it has to be a point where we need to say he's potentially getting paid now, right? And at a point where Chelsea's 3 out of 3 since the win, every day, boys. Mason Mount on Monday, Mason Mount on Tuesday, Mason Mount on Sunday as well. Sunday, like, every single day since we won has been about Mason Mount. And I'm like, why are you trying to disrupt this particular team, which is finally getting their heads screwed together, and finally focused on winning.
He's not interested in the team. That's why. He's Aston Villa fan.
Yeah, but this is the thing. People need to understand. He's an Aston Villa fan. Don't buy into his talks. Okay,
the thing is with him is that he has sources. I'm not here to discredit him and say that he doesn't have sources and he's not. He's a very reliable journalist, but his opinions are very much mixed with now his reporting. And if you've got a source and your source is, say, hypothetically, Tony Mount, and you've built up this really good relationship with Tony Mount behind the scenes, and you know Tony Mount, and you have phone calls with Tony Mount, and you're friends with Tony Mount, and Tony Mount doesn't want Mason Mount to leave Chelsea, but he also wants the right contract for Mason as his new agent. And you're a very big journalist in the UK that can potentially sway the thinking of the board by putting out articles and putting out stats and putting out propaganda. And Tony Mount may say to you, could you drop an article here and there for Mason Mount? Could you drop a little thing here and there for Mason Mount? Because we're in contract negotiations and we can't get the money we want. If people don't think that this stuff takes place behind the scenes, then I'm afraid you're very naive and you're not aware of just the inner. You're not aware of the type of rubbish that goes on behind the scenes. And there's a lot of rubbish, unfortunately. I don't like to get involved. I don't get involved, but I know it's going on. And I certainly don't like to talk about Mason Mount when he's not playing, because he's not playing. He's not involved. But when I see a journalist reporting like this, it screams, absolutely screams ulterior motives. It's nothing to do with Chelsea doing well. It's nothing to do with him even rating Mason Mount like that either at this point. It's to do with him trying to drip feed a certain narrative from the agent and from the PR team or whatever to try and get what they want. And at this point, you must be being paid for it, because there's no reason for you to be so emotionally invested in this. There is no other reason. Unless you like, how much can you really care? If I have an opinion on Aston Villa, I'll give it. I'm not going to start swearing and talking about the online trolls of Aston Villa. I don't give a damn like that. I'm not interested. It's Aston Villa. Yeah. I don't support Aston Villa, do I? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's very ironic for him to say online trolls. Two reasons. One, because when Rudiger and Kovac and Jorginho were going through it after Lampard, he became a little bit of an online troll. Secondly, more importantly, there are fans that go to the stadium, and this is where the UK perspective comes in, doesn't it? There are fans that go to the stadium that have no problem at this point cutting ties with Mason Mount, that are very bored of the Mason Mount contract situation. But the way these people like to paint it and dress it up is that everybody online doesn't like Mason Mount and everybody in the stadium does. Now, obviously, Mason Mount has huge backing in the stadium. He gets the banner, he gets the flags, all this kind of stuff. But if you don't think there's little whispers going on in circles, in pubs, and there's some very consistent season holder goers saying, do you know what? I'm sick of this now. We've got Enzo Fernandez. Look at him. He's playing brilliantly. We don't really need Mason Mount. If he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. You know, if you don't think those conversations are going on, Felix, then bruv, I don't know what to tell you. You've taken in far too much propaganda. You've taken in way too much propaganda. I keep telling people, this massive distinguish between online fans and match-going fans is one of the most foolish things I've ever seen. Because, first of all, there are many online fans that go to games. You just don't realize it. They have their Hazard avies, they have their Pulisic avies, and they actually go to games. If you think that they don't, just because they don't want to be seen and they want to troll online or whatever, or they want to create this ulterior personality online, doesn't mean that they... How many times have we seen someone that has a 9-to-5 but is also a heavy drug user? You would never expect it, but you're like, whoa, damn, you haven't got it all together. There's plenty of people that go out there with their face into the ground, support Chelsea, look like a proper Chelsea, and then they go online and it's like Twitter's their drug almost. They go online, they start trolling, they just want feedback and they just want, to annoy people. That's real life. That's real life. So this narrative that everybody online is bad and everybody in the ground is good is stupid. Especially when I've seen that same in the ground fans boo Cucurella. We all know Cucurella's story, why he's been
playing. They booed Mason Mount as well recently, along with Graham Potter.
Exactly, bro. So I just find the whole thing hilarious, to be honest. The way that people try and pit online versus matchgoers. Same matchgoers that we'll see give out similar, if sometimes even worse, abuse to players and managers when they're right in front of them, when they can hear them directly. Cucurella being booed, like I said, whether it was just a couple of people or a lot of people, I don't really care. Still booed him. Still part of the match goers, yeah? Because why? Because everybody on and offline have an opinion to share. And it's funny when it's match goers, it's a minority. When it's Twitter, it's just not the minority, it's the majority. In fact, it is the minority. It is again the minority. But
Twitter's a minority.
But again,
this is the thing with Matt Law's language used as well is something that needs to be pointed for the sole reason of if you have come online and everyone knows that you just give out your opinion. And fair enough, you just give out your opinion. But if you're a reporter, right, with the articles that people are waiting for news, right, as someone that has the connection, then you've got to make sure you differentiate between those things and you keep it on a professional level. You have to stay professional. You can show emotion, but you have to stay professional. You can't be taking digs like we've seen, you know, online trolls and all of that, and using language. Who does that apply to then? You know, because that's quite generic in that case. And what do you define as an online troll in that case? Just someone that doesn't want to see Mason play? Is that a troll? That's not a troll. That's someone with a footballing opinion. You know, if someone decides to hurl some sort of, snaky sort of abuse or whatnot, then fair enough. But I've seen many people that are respectful and just go, I just don't think he's good enough. That's not a troll. That's a footballing opinion. Much like there's people that go, no, I think he's the bee's knees. I think he needs to be in the starting 11. It's a footballing opinion. So again, you've got to keep it professional. You can't be labeling people under one umbrella where you know that's for a majority of the people that you quote within that umbrella. That's not actually the case. You know, João Felix has come into the team. As I've said, are many people going to deny him in the starting 11 right now, despite him hitting the crossbar and the post, I don't know, 85,000 times? But are people going to deny? Fun fact: the one thing that people used in terms of Mason was that, oh no, but he's young, got to give him time to develop and whatnot. Cool, all right, yeah, he's 24. João Felix is 23. So are we going to doubt João Felix and go, no, we've got to give João Felix time to develop? He's not there yet. Yeah, no, you look at João Felix and you just know you have a quality footballer there. You just know there's someone there that's going to cause all sorts of havoc and someone that complements what we're doing right now. And on the ball, there's no doubt. There's just no doubt. You know, you've got a player that right now I think everyone kind of wants to stay. Whereas with Mason Mount, as I said,
a lot of people don't want him to stay, but it depends on the money. But the funny thing is, the funny thing is with Felix is that even if he doesn't stay, and Cuckoo's still coming in, it's rubber stamped, it's done. He's going to go into exactly the same position. And we know they want a striker. We know that Kai Havertz is now dropping a bit deeper and trying to redeem himself and trying to respond to all of the new signings. There isn't a spot here. The only way to get a spot is to fight, to absolutely fight. And I don't know what the injury situation is. Apparently, he's going to go with the England team, but he wasn't. He was fit.
I don't believe he's injured.
Apparently, he was fit against Leicester.
Fit for the game against Leicester.
I think Potter done the right thing. I don't think he's injured.
Is it Potter or is it the board who have also said, you know what, he's not signing a new deal? Doesn't need to be in the team.
I mean, to be honest, when you find a player in that space of negotiation and a lot of noise and whatnot, it can be the good decision to just not include him, right? It's because maybe his headspace isn't there, and fair enough. You just know you're not going to get a good performance out of him. But as I've said, like right now, you've got players that are there and they're ahead. So there's no point, you know, if you're forced, right? Say if this was Reese James, right? At that point, you're going to be like, yeah, crap, we might be forced. Like, yeah, contract negotiations and whatnot, but I'm not going to turn to Aspie to play 90 minutes for the next 2-3 games. I'm just not. Like, you feel like you have to play Reese James. With Mace, I've said, it goes back to that point. We don't have to. We're all right. We're actually fine. So it's probably a wise decision to keep him out whilst all this noise is going on. And they're obviously going to use some sort of an excuse. Maybe he did have something, but to make it seem like it was a big deal that restricted him from playing, I don't think it is. Do
you know what, Matisse? You brought up the point about compete, right? I saw Thierry Henry. It was last week's Champions League conversations, and Henry was talking about when he first joined Barcelona, from Arsenal to Barcelona. And a lot of people were saying, they were laughing at Henry. They're like, you think you're going to get into the starting lineup at Barcelona? Messi, Eto'o, and was Ronaldinho still around at that time?
think
Yes.
I think he
yeah.
talked about 3 players. I think it was Messi, Eto'o, and Ronaldinho. Something like that.
Ronaldinho wasn't there when Henry was coming in. No.
Who was it? He was talking about 3 players: Messi, Eto'o, and there was another player that was there in Barcelona. Can't remember.
Not sure.
People in the live chat, let me know. Anyway, Henry said those 3 players' names, and people were laughing that you're not going to start. And you know what Henry's response was? He goes, "We'll see. We'll see who starts. Let me go there. They've not seen Henry yet." So, and surely enough, I think the first season Henry was there. I think he was a bit part player, but the second season he was a starter. I think that's the season when they ended up winning the Champions League. This is how I would love to see like Mount. Like, don't care who's going to come in. Potentially more midfielders coming in the summer. It ain't going to get a lot easier. There's going to be more players coming in. It's only going to get better and better in terms of the squad. You got to just, even if, I don't know, man. Look, if Chelsea has given him 180,000 and he 100% doesn't want to leave Chelsea Football Club, doesn't think about Liverpool, bro, what's stopping you? Get that, work your backside off, and then demand a new contract down the track.
I think the level, if he was to sign 180 with 3 years, cool. But I think the 6 years, that puts him in a weak position, because then if he even is to demand a new contract, if say he performs this year or the next year or the year after, he's still got 3-4 years left. They don't have to give him anything. And that's the situation that Sadio Mane kind of got himself into at Liverpool, where they underpaid him for a long period of time. And then when it came to the renegotiation for a big contract, they said, you know what, at this point now, we can't afford, because we've got Salah, we're just going to let you go to Bayern Munich. I have absolutely no questions. If he doesn't sign, he doesn't sign. Like, I don't even need him to prove that he's a proper Chelsea or anything by signing this contract. I'm not coming from that side at all. My only thing is that you're going to be forced to compete. And if you don't want to compete and you want to be a starter, which is clearly for me, I think he wants to feel valued, right? Which means he wants to be financially valued, and also on the pitch, he wants to be playing, as everybody does. If you're not able or you're not willing to go and compete with all of these players, then you have to leave, because we're bringing in these people, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like it's even fair or not, whether you feel like you shouldn't even have to prove yourself again or not. The journey that he's been on, I can understand the frustration. You come in at Chelsea, first year, you develop. Second year, player of the year. Third year, player of the year. Fourth year, bad season. But you feel like, come on now, I've proved myself, man. I've won the Champions League. I've scored some big goals against Liverpool. And, I've been in this team. I've been working hard. I've been grafting. But the graft never ends. This club, the graft never ends. The circus never ends. Any season, anything can happen. Any player can come in. If you don't want that type of instability, then Liverpool is a much safer space where, financially, they just don't even have the muscle to even move the way we move. We're just unpredictable. But I actually have no issue. I have no issue with the way Mason Mount's doing any of his contract negotiations or the way they're handling it. I have no issue with the fact that he hasn't signed anything. I have no issue with him not being in the team when he's not informed. I have no issue with any of it. I just have an issue with people who pretend like they don't understand the situation, and they try and go back into the last year and the year before statistics and merits to try and justify this year, when you know that the landscape has completely changed and you can see it for yourself. It's right there. It's clear as day. It's just, for me, it's crazy. But we're going to move on to another topic as well, because I do want to talk about the resurgence of a couple of players as well that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Cucurella, Koulibaly, Loftus-Cheek is now playing here and there as well. Kepa, I was going to say until that Leicester game, I feel like Kepa was on a resurgence and he was on the thumbnail.
He is, to be fair, yeah.
But then that Leicester game, I mean, to be fair, for me, I don't know what you guys think on Kepa. I was never really, even in his form, I'm never convinced he can be number one. I saw links that Aspilicueta talking to Raya from Brentford. I don't know how true that is. I think it was Ben Jacobs that put that one out. But I still feel like with Kepa, that cross collection and those top corners and the lack of, commanding ability, he doesn't have the ability to command and collect. I feel like that's always going to be a problem and a thorn in his side, and I'm always going to want somebody who can do all of that as well on top of the ball playing and on top of the shot stopping. But let's talk about Koulibaly, because I mean, Younes, Koulibaly's been a new man playing in the middle of the back three. Him and Cucurella, may as well put them both together. They both come into this team the last couple of games, and they've been brilliant, haven't they?
Yeah, completely. And Koulibaly, look, this goes back to the thing that I said. I did believe that if we did make a managerial change, that I just know that maybe there is a top defender in there. It's just almost like the way that Rudiger blew up in the way that he did. But what's helped Koulibaly show his ability is that he's playing in the middle of that back three. And doesn't actually have to move as much. You could say it's the easiest, quote unquote, position in the back three to play, but it's also, I think, where you need the toughest to be in that role, much like Thiago Silva is, and Koulibaly does have that side to him, and he's done really, really well. He's been dominant, he's been decisive, he's been physical, he's got stuck in, he's well protected, which I think helps him. And likewise, where his presence is, I think, also helping the other two that are alongside him. So overall, just going back to this system and going back to this way has just benefited our entire defensive line, Koulibaly included. So overall, yeah, he's been brilliant. And Cucurella, I didn't expect. Koulibaly, you look at and you go, no, I wouldn't be surprised. But Cucurella, I didn't expect as a left centre-back, right? We know there's a top player there, but I thought it would be seen more of him going forward and playing in the way that we saw him play for Brighton, And even when he first showed up for Chelsea, it was him getting quite involved going, when we were attacking. But as a left centre-back, we saw him, I think it was whilst we were on that winning run, whilst Graham Potter did first show up, and Cucurella was in the left centre-back, and I think we all looked and went, I hope that doesn't happen again. And he's come into that role again now, and he's just looked brilliant. And I don't know, maybe if it's because he's got Chilwell there in front of him, if there's a nice so-called chemistry that you could say between them two. But as a left centre back, yeah, Cucurella surprised me. And I'm all for it. He's been class. Defensively sound. Hasn't looked like he's been as liable as we expect him to be, because you look at Cucurella and the bad form that he was on, it was a case of him being dispossessed, allowing players to run past, not being in the right space, not being in the right position. But he's done all of that correctly. So I'm happy. Brilliant. And I hope he continues.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Miz, it's created quite the selection headache, hasn't it, for Graham Potter with Badiashile, and I was even talking about it previously on a podcast as well, about when Ian Maatsen comes back and Levi Colwill comes back, and for some reason Vardy is still being linked with us. I have no idea why.
After yesterday, I don't think that's going to happen.
But the thing is, I agree with what Miz said on his story about, it's not even about yesterday. It's just about spending the money in a smart way now. You've got Badiashile, left-footed, Cucurella, left-footed, Levi Colwill, left-footed, Chilwell on that side, Ian Maatsen on that side. I'm just like,
it's unnecessary.
It's just unnecessary. He's going to cost a whole heap of money. They're in the same timeline age-wise. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it legitimately doesn't make any sense now. Before Badiashile came in, people could say, oh, wait, there's no point comparing him to Levi Colwill. He's in the championship. Now Badiashile's in and playing very well. And he's now also been benched for Cucurella, who's now come in, and there's literally no reason for it. It doesn't make any sense.
No. And this is the thing, we're gonna have an immense issue when Maatsen comes back. I'm about to do a mad video on Burnley. I know you guys are about Burnley. Oh man, I'm invested in Burnley. Burnley are ripping it apart in the championship, man.
They are. They're so clear.
Most goals and the least goals conceded. They're defensively mean, and offensively they're very, very good. I mean, this is not the Sean Dyche Burnley that we, grew and so much loved in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Vincent Kompany has come in and he's doing a madness over there. And one of his key players from the back who joins in the attack is Ian Maatsen. So we already have a lot of issues next season with this brother coming in. Now you want to throw in Vardiol as well. But Badiashile, as you just said, already doesn't, there's a bit of a, limbo as to does he start, does he not start? Cucurella's put himself into the mix. Thiago Silva, once he's fit, Then what happens to Koulibaly? Does he get an opportunity on the LCB? But like, it's simply unnecessary with the Vardio situation. And as I said, it's not even about the Man City game. I know there were shambolic Leipzig, but the entire Leipzig team was bad, and Vardio was very bad. But I'm not saying just because of that match, there should be no interest on Vardio. City can make any teams look like that. Like they could.
Hey, they beat us 6-0, didn't they?
Exactly, they can make anyone look like that. So Vardio, I'm sure will find a big club, but it doesn't have to be Chelsea Football Club. Now, coming back to the point of Cucurella and Koulibaly, I'm so glad, because when we got Cucurella, and I know Younes was very excited about, I was just over the moon, because I thought he was going to City. And look at the way City utilizes Nathan Ake. Like, he plays in a... Pep's doing a madness at the moment. Pep's not going with the flying fullbacks, overlapping fullbacks. It's very different now. Pep's now using 3 at the back, but he's using Nathan Ake as someone who can advance from 3 at the back into midfield areas and then also into wing areas at times. I think that was the whole idea behind getting Nathan Ake to Chelsea Football Club by Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, I think now I'm starting to understand, probably wanted to use Nathan Ake as a LCB who can go from LCB to midfield to attacking positions as well. I think this is what we're trying to do with Cucurella. And this is why Man City wanted Cucurella as well, because they saw his skill set in Brighton. Like, I actually watched quite a bit of Brighton last season, and I saw Cucurella play in LCB. There were times where he played as a left wing back, but I saw a few times he played in LCB, quite a few times, number of times actually. And his passing that we're seeing now, that pass that rips through the midfield and it hits one of our attackers, whether it's João Felix or Sterling or Mudryk in the last game, it bypasses the midfield and then it really opens up the opposition. That is a bit of a cheat code from the back. And this is why Cucurella is now getting the advantage over Buddy Shield. Buddy Shield might be a better defender overall, but Buddy Shield doesn't have that pass where he rips it through the middle and boom, it's on João Felix, and now João Felix turns and he's only got one, he's got a defender to beat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a key component. And I think Younes is right. There is a reason why Chilwell is starting in left wing back, because I think, you know how we sometimes laugh at Cucurella and go, what's his brother doing rushing in like that? He just missed. I think he's been given the license to rush in like that because Chilwell has the engine to go up and down. I think Potter has said, I want you, Cucurella, to be on the backside of that opponent. Whenever they get the ball, you cannot let them breathe. Now, yes, sometimes they may beat you, but that's when you have the insurance policy of Chilwell. And this is why Chilwell is just workaholic on that side.
But the only issue I have with this system is, of course, the wing backs. Chilwell, James. Physically, can they go through that? We've already seen no. They keep picking up injuries.
They can't.
So this is where, sadly, we need Gusto. We need him now, We need Martin. Martin could play that role very well, I think, what Chilwell plays as well, I think, as a second choice.
100.
So Cucurella's position moving into this back three, if we're to stick with this, it actually creates a gap for Matson now, because now it's not, you're not competing with Cucurella and Chilwell, you're competing with Chilwell to play in that role. But like you said, he becomes an extra LCB that rules out any need for Vardio, especially when you have Levi Colwell coming in and you have Badia Shield. You still probably have too many over there for healthy.
And Matisse, what if you go to a back four?
Well, then it's over.
Then it's over for maybe even some of the existing players.
It's over for everybody. If we go to a back four, it's over for everybody. It's too many players.
And this is one of the things that's getting touted around for next season. Are we going to continue with the back three? Maybe for the time being, it's required. But come the pre-season, what if Graham Potter goes, do you know what, lads? Let's rip everything apart. We start again. We start with the back four again. We'll see where it goes. Then what? Then Cucurella is competing with Chilwell in left back. Reese James and Malo Gusto.
Same could be said for Matson as well, if we are to consider.
Well, Matson will have to be sold.
Yeah.
Or unless you're selling Chilwell. Unless loaned out again to Burnley.
Yeah, or you loan him out to Burnley for one season because Burnley will get promoted. So you give him 1 year opportunity to continue on in the Premier League and reassess the situation after. I think Vincent Kompany would love that opportunity if he was able to get Martin for one more year.
Yeah.
I think that's a win-win situation for all of us.
Yeah.
But then again, Martin will have to agree on another year of a loan.
Yeah.
So
Levi Colwell as well. Because if you're going to a 4, Badiashile and Koulibaly would be your left side centre backs. Fofana and Silva would be your right side. You still have Trevor as well. You're not going to have 6 centre backs.
Trevor's going to have to go. This is why I think his name is getting put out there that he could potentially, because it's just an influx. And then when you bring in Vardiol's name, it's like, oh, having a laugh now.
Unnecessary.
You're really having a laugh.
It would be a poor use of resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got other positions like forward and DM that for me you can put that money towards. I don't actually want to see a lot of players come in the summer. I think we only need maybe 2 or 3: the goalkeeper, the DM, and the striker. And after that, it should depend on sales, really. You know, after that, it should depend on sales. You should get as many players cleared off this books as you can. Bring the squad down to a normal size. It's like 10, 12 players you've got to get rid of minimum. And that's not even counting the players coming back from loan. I'm sure there's some Bakayoko's lying around that I've forgotten about.
Oh, wow, so he's still here.
Yeah.
What do you can't believe, guys? Still here. So you got to make yeah. I mean, I haven't gone through the discarded the discarded players, but they haven't been discarded yet. Really, they should be, but they're still probably on the books. Those guys. So there's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. I don't want to see in the second season Potter have to, if he's still here, having to deal with a 35-man squad. Should be around about 24 to 25 max. And that 24, 25, 24th, 25th should be a young player, 23 seniors, something normal. Yeah. Something normal. So you've got to have to remove 10, 12 players minimum.
You don't actually have a lot, thankfully. I mean, Bakayoko's still there.
Yes.
We got Malangsar.
Is Babarama still there?
Malangsar, oh Lord, when he comes back, that left side centre back.
And Babaraman is still here.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah.
Is Lucas Pearson still here?
No, he's not.
No, he's been sold. Look, we have
thank God.
Lukaku, Hudson-Odoi, Gusto, Santos, Ampadu, Sarr, Bakayoko, and Babaraman. So
Ampadu
is gonna be a massive summer of getting players out. Massive, as Matisse would say, more than you can believe. More than you can believe.
I feel like that's become Matisse's phrase rather than Pep's. Just saying,
bro.
I think he said more. What did he say? More than you believe. Or something.
More than you believe.
I did the can. I wanted that.
More than you can believe.
Do you know how many for copyright reasons? Yeah.
Do you know how many? Do you know how many different channels that I now see uses the same phrase?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
And they try and do the Matisse's accent as well. That more than you can believe. I'm like, dude, just say it the way you don't try and say it in a Spanish way.
God, I love it.
Pulisic, Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Ruben Loftus-Cheek to a certain degree. I mean,
do you know what's funny about Ruben? He always survives, and this is what I talk about.
Isn't it? Utility, isn't he?
He plays his part. Yeah. And Gallagher, as much as I have criticized Gallagher's technical ability, he also is now trying to play his part. And funny thing is, my biggest problem with Gallagher is I don't think Mason Mount and Gallagher need to be in the same team.
No,
at all. And that creates the thing is, can they even coexist? Because you've got Mason Mount, who for me is technically better, much better, and then you've got kind of like a lower level version in Mason Mount and Gallagher, who will do the same pressing and the same work rate, but won't give you the same technical security, in my opinion. And then you don't need both of them in the squad, in my opinion, because you've got one already, and then you've got Andre Santos, and you've got Carney, and you've already purchased those guys, so they're fresh and they're new. And then you've got Enzo, and you've got Cover, who's probably going to leave because he's run out of contract, and Kante's going to get renewed. There's just too many players again. But Gallagher's accepted this role of off the bench, wants to be at Chelsea no matter what, and it gives me very much Ruben Loftus-Cheek vibes. It gives me very much Ruben Loftus-Cheek's vibes, where I am very happy to just be here, and I'm very happy to just do anything you ask of me. Just please let me be here. And that's not the vibe Mason Mount is going to give. And I'm not expecting him to give the same vibe, but it's not the vibe he gives. because he wants to feel valued. Gallagher doesn't want to feel valued. Gallagher's like, bro, take a shit on me, bro. I don't give a damn. I'll do anything. I'll come off the bench last 10 minutes, last 5 minutes, come and do this role. Run, chase, close down space, and be on my merry way. He's more than happy to do it. And he's talking the same way Ruben does, where Ruben is happy to play any position, do a job. And now I still think Ruben's going to struggle because when Gusto comes in, then your position at right wing back doesn't really make sense. Then you've got to come back into the midfield, and you know that that's a mess as well because there's no real space for you there. So Ruben might lose that positional versatility. He might lose that strike because we might just have everybody that we need in all positions. Having positional versatility doesn't matter anymore if everybody in the positions is stacked up with the players that should play there. It's what Mason Mount could be suffering from right now is positional versatility was his big thing. Availability was his big thing. I can play left forward in a free if you need. I've played right forward in a free if you need. I'll play 8 if you need. But what if we have all of these positions with players that should be playing here and now they start performing? Now you need to come back to your home turf, which is midfield. And you haven't been developed or coached in midfield. So now your home turf is looking like an away day. Whereas Enzo's playing at home. This is what he's been born and bred in, midfield. He's never been played out wide. He's never had his development stunted by playing as a pressing forward. So now you're coming back home, but you're looking around and you're thinking, this is not my home. This is not how I left it. When I was at home, it was me and Gallagher, and it was Kante was injured and Kova's injured, and now there's Enzo here and there's Andre Santos and who's going to be developing and needing minutes.
That's another one.
This is not my house.
And also, Matisse, don't forget, right now, Gallagher's probably getting those time is because Kante is not available. Once Kante is available and in the bench, those initial minutes will be going to Kante. The minutes that Gallagher's getting off the bench, the last 15, that will be going to Kante. So,
although have we seen the way that Gallagher's been used in the last few games, which is, I think, something that no one expected. But people look at Gallagher and go, okay, no, he's going to drift into one of those attacking mid positions. And, this is where the whole him and Mount debate was there. And how many goals and assists can he get? But he's being used as, I want to say, a modern day John Obi Mikel, which is fantastic, because he's actually been executing that role. And I don't want to say Mikel because Mikel just kind of sat, but Gallagher's been kind of everywhere, but he's just been destructive. Just seek and destroy, and that's it, and provide protection. And that's not a way that anyone expected Gallagher to be used, but he's been effective in those games where we've had to just protect the result. So maybe he does continue to get used in that capacity, even if Kante's there, because Kante will more likely just start starting games. But if we came to a consensus to a point where we're having to protect and we bring on someone with that energy and that ability to just destroy, then this is why I say, you have to say Graham Potter here. Has he found a new role for Gallagher that could actually benefit us?
See,
or is that not sustainable? Is that something that's just going to be like now and that's it?
See, this is the thing. I don't think it can be sustainable with Conor Gallagher. Like, I understand what... See, the last game against Leicester, I think he brought in Conor Gallagher not because to defend. I think to shore up the midfield because the opposition had 3 and we had the double pivot. Yeah. And João Felix just wasn't cutting it in that game from an offensive standpoint or off the ball standpoint as well. So he wanted to add another body in midfield to ensure that Leicester wasn't going to get the love.
When he gets his DM...
This is the thing. Because this is what I'm about to say, that you got Zakaria. So why aren't you utilizing him? Or when you get that DM next season, I think eventually enough, boys, and I get so much hate for this. Conor Gallagher in the last couple of games, 100% has been a lot more calmer. Previously, when he would come off the bench, he looked like just a headless chicken, just erratic, chaotic, rash tackling. It was mad. Last couple of games, calm, collected. It's almost as if Graham Potter came down to him and said, listen, you've impressed me. You don't need to impress me anymore. I'm impressed. Go out there and do the job. You don't need to over-impress me anymore. And it almost feels like now he feels calm. But as Matisse alluded to, and as I was going to say, I think soon when we do get that DM or add another different profile in midfield, I don't know if this is sustainable with Conor Gallagher coming in and trying to protect the lead. Try and protect the lead against Man City. You do need an actual defender to do that, not a Conor Gallagher.
Yeah. You know I mean? Right now, for me, there's still an imbalance in midfield. Even though Enzo would have scored statistically well on tackles and interceptions, Cover will get stuck in. I'm always going to maintain that midfield is not balanced. When Kante comes back, that midfield is still not balanced for me. When they balance that midfield, and if they balance that midfield, because I think with the back three, what I define as balance is not the same as what I define it as a back four. If the back four is there and you're playing a 4-3-3, this midfield does not work whatsoever. Not a chance. When you play a back three, you can get away with this. And to be honest, it kind of works because you could take it in turns a little bit and there's a whole back three behind you to secure, and even it turns into a back five. Exactly. So you don't have to have maybe that true six. But if you're going to go back to a 4-3-3, which I don't really care if we do, at this point, I just want to win games. I don't have any formation fetish. I call it formation fetish because people say, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, we get more attackers on the pitch, we're going to score more goals. That didn't happen, right? So there's no formation fetish, all right? Just whatever formation suits the team, whatever formation gets us goals. I keep saying it and I'll continue to say it. It doesn't matter what formation you play, it's how you apply it. You can play a negative 4-3-3. You could play a positive 3-4-3. It depends on how you do it. It's so funny now that Arsenal always now turn to a three at the back and push Zinchenko into midfield. So funny now that Man City always turn to a three at back and push Rico Lewis into midfield. There are so many ways to play this formation that make it exciting. It's not about the formation. It's about how you play it. It's always been like that. Still 11 players on the pitch. They're still playing football. They're still playing under your instruction, no matter what formation you play. So for me, I'm not really too... I mean, I saw Jose Mourinho play a 4-2-3-1 at the back end of the Premier League winning season. And it was awful because he would shove Oscar into 10. He wasn't playing like a 10. He's playing like a sitting midfielder sometimes. Do you know what I'm saying? It was nuts. He turned Oscar into a defensive 10, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't no Juan Mata 10. It was a defensive 10. So, you know, for me, I'm not bothered about formation, but depending on that is what player we need, because if we're playing, you know, this formation, we're going to need wing backs, not full backs. It depends on the formation as to what players we need to go and get. But yeah, for me, you know, if you're gonna play a four, you're gonna need someone more defensively secure than what we have on paper at the moment. So we'll have to see what happens. But any more players that we haven't mentioned? I mean, Fofana definitely should get some flowers as well. He's been brilliant. Kepa, like I said, how do you guys feel on the goalkeeper situation? Do you want a new goalkeeper in the summer? We all know everyone wants a striker. It's just who we get. But
look, I'm with you on this one, Matisse, in the sense that I think Kepa deserves the flowers, but that commanding of the box, there is a lacking there. Like whenever there is a cross coming in, whenever there is a corner, you just worried that Kepa is rooted on his spot and it could be very detrimental. Sometimes you just need to come out there and just collect. Like you look at the brother from Inter Milan. What's his name?
Or is it AC Milan?
AC Milan and Inter Milan. AC Milan is that Mike Maignan. Very, 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 very commanding in the box. Onana. That's it. Onana. I used to laugh at Onana, but I've seen some of the Inter Milan matches recently. Oh, he's commanding and a half. He's a beast. When it comes to shot stopping, he's a beast. When it comes to commanding the box, he's a beast. Ball playing ability, probably Kepa's better. And this is the thing, right? Kepa's ball playing ability is what keeps him in this Potter team. And shot stopping is not bad. It has improved massively. But it's that odd game, boys, where we're 1-0 up and everyone's playing out of their skin very, very good. And it's against a very tough opposition. And the one chance the opposition gets to whip in across, and it's in that area of uncertainty. The defender doesn't know whether he needs to go for it, or the goalkeeper doesn't know if he needs to go for it. That's how I would wish Kepa would come in and just collect that or punch that, as opposed to create that uncertainty. You know, you look at other keepers like David Raya, who we're getting linked with, very commanding in the box and very good ball playing goalkeeper as well. Brentford, people think Brentford is just a one-dimensional team. Brentford play football. I don't know if you guys have watched Brentford. They actually play good football, man. So, look,
I like Raya a lot. I think
Raya is very good. Raya is very good, man. I don't like Leeds goalkeeper Meslier. I think Meslier can be erratic.
Don't go near him. Nope.
Yeah, he can play out from the back, no problem. So he can be erratic. I definitely don't like Pickford either from Everton.
Nope.
Very erratic as well.
No,
He's just signed a new deal anyway, so that's dead.
I don't even want Sanchez from Brighton either. To be honest, I don't want Sanchez.
I'm okay, but David Raya obviously number one pick. But Sanchez, I can live with because I know
the thing is we shouldn't even be getting anyone we can live with. We should be finding someone that we think can be a top goalkeeper.
100.
That's what we're looking for.
100. Look, if I'm being absolutely honest, Ter Stegen of Barcelona, that's the level that we need. I'm not saying go get him. Like, I don't know if you guys...
He's ridiculous.
Ter Stegen, but he can be an attacking midfielder. Ter Stegen could potentially be a cam.
Yeah.
Is that good with the ball?
Do you think he would come into this league and be the best ball playing goalkeeper? Even ahead of Alisson and Edison? For
sure. The way Ter Stegen picks out sometimes, Gavi or out wide Balde or whoever else, it's midfield-esque. Like, that's a midfield type of a goalkeeper. And on top of that, Ter Stegen is commanding and he's a great shot stopper as well. So I don't know if we're going to get that level of a goalkeeper anywhere. I don't know what happened with that Portuguese goalkeeper, Diogo Costa.
I haven't watched enough of him. I've seen him at the World Cup. I think I saw him a couple of Champions League games, but not enough to hang my hat on him, unfortunately.
I think we should get Karius.
Oh my god!
Just for the bins.
that opinion deserves the outro.
I think some people might have actually thought that's the end.
That's the end, boys. Who are some of the standout goalkeepers in the Premier League
this season, outside of the obvious names?
Yeah,
Karius. No, I'm kidding.
For me, Raya definitely a standout, big standout.
There hasn't really been like someone like, well, you could say Ramsdale to an extent.
Yeah, Ramsdale.
That's basically it.
I don't really know if Ramsdale's really
everyone else has been open.
Box.
But this
he
is
tries
the thing.
to be. He's hectic. He is chaos though. But yeah.
There's an important point to make when talking about the goalkeeper. Is sometimes it's not just on the goalkeeper. It's the defense that's in front of him. And it's the ability of not allowing the goalkeeper to actually have to protect the team from that many chances, which I feel Arsenal do very, very well. Hence why Ramsdale looks good. When he's called upon, he makes 1-2 big saves. That's all he's got to do. And Ramsdale's fantastic.
They've scored from a lot of they've conceded a lot of corners recently, though. They have, Arsenal.
This is the thing. If you look at a team that doesn't have a very well-equipped defense, but the goalkeeper still pulls off worldies and is able to move the ball well, I think that's all you need. Because as long as we are concerned at Chelsea, we do tend to have, or our standard should be to have a top defense. And as long as you have someone that's just efficient enough, then they'll do a good job anyway. So it's not about trying to go and get the best goalkeeper you could possibly find, but someone that's just competent enough that will have a decent defense in front of them and will be good in terms of moving the ball and will be good in terms of shot stopping. And I think apart from it, you can't ask for more. So I
think this is why David Raya ticks the box. This is why I think Chelsea's after him. He's reasonable priced as well. I think somewhere around 25 million, 30 million or something like that. Because he is on the final years of his contract and he's him and
Kepa are both Spanish. They can communicate no problem in the goalkeeping training. Best of friends.
Who will be number one between the two? Because Kepa, I don't think wants to go back to number 2.
They'll be trying.
Do you know what? Do you know what is with me? Yeah, I think Mendy is better suited to be in the 2 because of the wage he's on, because of what he costs.
I think he'll go though.
But
we'll get rid of Mendy.
He's probably going to go. Kepa is on the higher wage, cost a lot more, but is probably better suited to be in the number 2 because he just seems to have been. He's now used to that back and forth now, isn't he? He's been here so long, and his personality is kind of infectious in that team. It seems so. He seems like he knows how to maneuver that 2 to 1 and go between. Most goalkeepers can't. Most goalkeepers want to know if they're a 1 or they're a 2. When I spoke to Begovic on this channel about it, he said, and he was a 2 and a 1. He was a 1 at Stoke. He was a 1 at Portsmouth. He was a 2 at Chelsea behind Courtois. He's a 2 at Everton behind Pickford. He said, going into a season, he wants to know, am I the 1 or am I the 2? Because mentally, he just wants to know. Put that to rest. Because when you're fluctuating between 1 and 2, it becomes chaotic for the goalkeeper and it becomes chaotic for the defense because you don't know who's behind you, who you're meant to be building up a relationship with. I prefer as well going into a season a 1 and a 2. I don't want Chelsea to be going between goalkeepers. It's the one position I don't really want there to be crazy competition. Whenever you see a successful team win a Premier League title or win any significant trophy, there's one goalkeeper. There's one goalkeeper and then there's a 2. And that doesn't change. For us,
there's one goalkeeper and then there's carriers.
What is your obsession with carriers right now today? Huh?
Carriers.
Why do you like carriers? What's this deal with carriers? I don't understand.
It's just the most banter goalkeeper you can think of, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah, true, very true. So yeah, if Raya comes in, he needs to be number 1. That's the whole point of getting him. I'm not getting anyone to be a 2 because I don't think Kepa should be the 1 long term. So if Raya's coming in, he automatically for me has to be the 1 because that's what he's being purchased for. If he's not being purchased to be the 1, then he shouldn't be purchased. We should go and get someone else. That's how I'm going to see it. Before we wrap up, though, confidence levels for Everton. Opportunity to make it 3 Premier League wins in a row. Everybody here confident, no qualms, no queries on it. Yeah,
3 Premier League wins in a row. 4 wins
4
in
a row. Yeah.
Shit.
How? At Chelsea?
Crazy.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, it is unheard of. Literally.
Everton won their last game, didn't they?
Did they?
Yes.
I think
They did. Yeah.
Sean Dyche doing mad things. You know what? I think this is the sort of game that's actually going to be quite difficult for us. Very difficult. Considering the Leicester game, even this is going to sound mad, but even playing against Leeds, playing against Dortmund, playing against Leicester, this Everton game might actually be the toughest game. And you're probably going to be like, "What? Wow, it's Everton," but Sean Dyche, low block, Everton, physical, man, that's our kryptonite. We hate that.
yeah, it's a different test.
That. Leeds were all about being as physical as they can, but actually moving out of the box and actually trying to take the game to us on the counter, which they failed in the final third. That was their problem. They actually did well, but they failed in the final third. Dortmund are a team that actually liked to take the ball as well, but they just, in fact, if there was anyone that was sitting back and trying to do things correctly in terms of taking the chances, it was us. So there's that. The Leicester game, I just felt like Leicester were just not good enough overall.
Yeah. They have a terrible defense.
After the 1-1 and their defense was open. Everton won't be open. They just won't. Sean Dyche's Everton will not be open, and we tend to struggle to take chances or create chances.
Step forward.
Playing against a low block.
Enzo Fernandez.
This could be it. This could be it. And this is going to be a point, I think, for all of our previews in terms of the profile of players that we have now are slightly different and might help us. And the form that we're in terms of some individuals might actually carry forward and could be the key. But if that's not the key, then damn.
Enzo Fernandez makes me believe that we can sign a striker again. That's where I'm at. You know my PTSD with strikers.
Completely.
When I see his passing against Leicester and what he did for Kai Havertz, he makes me want to sign a striker. Yeah. I have been running away from strikers for years. Lukaku now has ruined it completely. But Enzo Fernandez makes me want to get a striker again. And I know what the live chat's going to be. Lukaku? No.
I'm seeing way too many people say that now, man.
He's going to be a problem though, Lukaku.
But why?
We're going to have to get rid of him somehow, and I don't know who's going. It's going to have to be another Serie A club.
Why is he even a topic? Why is he even a consideration? His attitude stinks, right? And on top of that, he's now overweight or not fit at Inter Milan or not producing. Any other time when you see those two criteria for a player, you immediately just they're not even a consideration. Why is he a consideration? I don't understand.
think he's a consideration. I think he's an issue that you need to do something about, because
Release him.
previously we
50 million is release clause. Like, I think I worked out the maths. If we release him, it's 50 million. Release him, bro.
or as in just take the loss.
Just release him, bro. Sell somebody for 50 million.
If you recoup that money,
bro, release him, bro.
Look,
No, you know, I
go on,
was gonna say, the fact that he's gone to Inter, he's gone back home. We sent him back home, and he still flopped. Right? It tells you everything that you need to know. But the one possibility that we can have in order to actually use his value is Atletico Madrid and João Felix.
I don't think Simeone is going to want to work with him.
People that, like, I'm starting to think now, boys, you would have seen Man City last night, right? And you saw how mad
happened?
You saw how mad Erling Haaland pressed from the front Erling Haaland ran. Do you know what? Like when Younes and I, we were sort of laughing about the fact that get Ronaldo in the summer, this, that, the other. I think in this day and age, if you don't have a particular player that's not going to work hard up front, you better believe the other teammates compensate for you. And in this era that we're in now, it's too difficult. It's too difficult, man. When one of your players up front is not running, it's too easy for the opposition to play out from the back. One of the biggest reasons Leipzig got their throat choked is it all started from the front. So Lukaku going to Atletico Madrid, who loves to press from the front, bro, Simeone is going to say, Lukaku, you better run. And he ain't going to run. That's the thing. And this is why I think Serie A for him. Because in Serie A, they press, but it's not as aggressive as anywhere else. Do you know what I mean? But which Serie A team? Like, if he can't,
that's what I'm saying. If he can't do it back at home at Inter, I want to go back home. Like, mate, he's flopped there. At this point, I don't know. Send him to Thailand. Or, I don't know.
Look, he's going to be an issue.
It's mad. It's definitely an issue. But he should not be. People looking at Haaland. So people saw Haaland yesterday and went, oh no, you know what? Maybe Lukaku will work. Like,
there's no way.
There's no correlation. There's no correlation. Haaland yesterday, Haaland was doing things, not only as you said, Miz, but the one thing I looked at Haaland and I thought, man, as a striker, you just need to know how to be in the right place at the right time every single minute of the game. Every time. And he's a king at that, man. The amount of times the ball sometimes just falls to him and people go, oh no, he's lucky. No, he's not. He knew exactly where to be. Go and read the way that he moves. When the ball's moving, just look at where Haaland's going. And you can just see he navigates himself into certain areas where the opportunity comes to him. He's gone to the opportunity that he can see coming, man.
Younes, do you remember prime Cristiano Ronaldo, when he went from wing to that center forward where he was killing it for? I still have some footages somewhere. I can't remember. Maybe it's in somewhere saved here. There were times where Ronaldo could see a play 3 steps ahead. And then by the time it got into the box, he's there and he slapped it in for a goal. And you go, how is he there always at the right spot? These players, their IQ is they see the play develop.
I think he's from the future.
No, I think Haaland is. I really do think Haaland is.
I watched it yesterday. I think he's from the future. There's no way he can mind read like that. He's just always in the right spot. It's weird. It's
crazy.
And he missed out on at least 2 or 3 other goals. Yeah. Like there was that through ball from Nathan Ake over the top and he ran like a beast, like a gazelle.
Yeah.
He was centimeters away from beating the goalkeeper and scoring that. I think there was another cross from KDB where...
I think he was annoyed when he was substituted as well because...
he did, yeah.
He said was after. Slightly, yeah.
He could have got the
double hat-trick.
Yeah, because it would have been a record breaker in a Champions League match.
Yeah.
Messi also has 5. Yeah,
he would have got that. 5. But going back to that point where you guys were talking about the Everton, just coming back to that, of course, Enzo Fernandez is going to be huge. I don't know if you guys watched Everton versus Arsenal recent times. It was a midweek game.
Yeah. I watched it.
Do you see how good Saka and Martinelli was in that game, along with Odegaard?
Yeah.
That's what we need, João Felix and Sterling. And then obviously Odegaard could be that Enzo Fernandez. We definitely need the insides Sterling and João Felix. Because Everton ain't just going to sit 24/7. They will come.
No.
We need
But it's
width.
in transition, how quickly can we get the ball to either Sterling or João Felix and then quickly add numbers?
I think for us, it will be the wing backs that maybe do that.
Yes.
Is James going to be fit for this? James
Has to. He's training. I saw some training clip.
He might.
So I think James and Chilwell might be your Saka and Martinelli in a way, because they're the ones that have to bring the width, isn't it? Because I agree with you. They're going to be so narrow. They're going to throw you out to the wing, and they're going to say go out there because we're just protecting the middle, and they're going to just be very compact. So
we need to be fast.
And when they're compact, you've got to be able to take advantage of the width, which Saka did. And this is where I'm hoping Reese James can bring his A game on that right side. Chilwell can bring his A game on the left side. But even more importantly, when they do have the ball and they want to try and come to our half, how quickly can we win the ball back and go? I think that's going to be very important, because you've got to be able to have them dismantled. As soon as they collapse and shape up their defense, that's when they become very difficult to break down.
Yeah,
I wonder move the ball quickly. I wonder if Sean Dyche is going to deploy that defensive V that has become quite, like we saw it when he was at Burnley, and then it was pointed out when he beat Arsenal, didn't it? When he first rocked up.
The first game,
yeah. So that defensive V, which to be honest, defensively when executed correctly is a problem. It's hard. So in terms of overloading the wings with the wing backs and hopefully creating some space, we need to be quick. If we don't move the ball fast with a team that's just as physical as they are and are going to intercept as much as they can and are going to be man marking very hard, we need to be able to get into tight spaces very quickly and navigate through those very, very fast. Because if you don't, you'll get dispossessed instantly. So I hope we're not slow up here on Saturday. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
I think in recent times I've seen that we're not slow anymore. With the likes of João Felix, Sterling,
we've looked quicker,
and Enzo, even Havertz to a certain degree. We've now looked a lot quicker and a lot more direct with our how many passes we take to get to the opposition box. We don't play 10 passes to get there.
No.
We're now 1, 2, 3, boom, we're there.
Finally. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Now the thing is, whoever it does fall to, whether it's João Felix or it's Sterling, I hope they can put it away. That's been the issue recently. Sterling, kudos to him. As ugly as it has looked, some of his finishing, he's been able to put it away though. João Felix, however, has been hitting the post, and that's one game. You don't want to be hitting the post because you don't know how many more you're going to get. So the chance you get, you got to put it away. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah. What's the name? Thabz said that the Sterling goal against Dortmund was intentional. As in the miss was intentional because it happened exactly the same at City, where he kind of like scuffed his shot, it hit his leg, then he smashed it in. It's like he's done it again.
Bro, if he did that intentionally, that's a mad skill.
Yeah, that's definitely not intentional.
Definitely not.
That's not intentional. No way. It's intentional.
But it's funny. It's funny how that's
not. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. Sterling coming back, Felix and Kai. I think that's a really good. I think Mudryk coming in the other day, he and Felix wasn't great either, but I feel like Sterling is necessary. He's needed. I think his experience as well in this team is really important, and his experience going up against low blocks is important as well. And so many times I see Sterling just go past 2-3 players just with ease. So easy, and
explosiveness as well.
He does it so easy. Like he does it so easily. Sometimes it's ridiculous. He has no problem going past 2 or 3 players. Just whether or not then you have the combinations and the options around him to give him something to have some sort of what's the goal after that. After he's gone to past 2 or 3 players, what now? So as long as there's options, then I think we'll do well. But we're gonna wrap up here. It's been a pleasure. Great show as always. Younes, let them know where to find you, bro. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Looking forward to the weekend. We'll see what happens. You can find all my opinions and previews and all of that on Younes Talks Football. So today, tomorrow, will be just whatever's going on. We'll see what happens later in the Champions League as well with Liverpool. If they can do what we did, yes, even though we didn't get through, but we still managed to do the job that we were looking to do. We just didn't complete the job, if you understand. But Liverpool need 3 at the Bernabeu. And that's just to equal things. So we'll see what happens. And I'll give my thoughts on everything today, tomorrow. Then the preview for the game on Saturday will be on Friday. And then Saturday is match day. So, yeah.
There you are. There you are. Miz, let them know where to find you, bro. Pleasure as always. I saw second channel went up as well. Subscribe to that.
Congrats. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, boys. Yeah, look, trying to spend a bit more time on the second channel, Miz TV, Total Football. I didn't know what else I could put with other name. That kind of sort of made sense to me. But yeah, the other side of the coin, still the regular Chelsea content will keep flying through there. And yeah, subscribe to the second channel where I'll talk about anything and everything. I'm just waiting for that opportunity to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo in Saudi Arabian League. I just can't wait. So I'm waiting for him to bag a hat trick so I can just pull out that video. I really want to talk about the Saudi League.
I know that's exactly why you made it, because that was like the reason you wanted to.
That was one of the reasons. I want to talk about Cristiano, bro.
Guys, that's the reason. That's the reason. So, guys, make sure you subscribe to both the channels. For me, yeah, what you're gonna see next? Probably something out on Thursday, video-wise. Also, Sporting Lisbon versus Arsenal watch along, because it's 2-2 in that. No Champions League, because today is 3 years anniversary. So I must go for dinner. You must go for dinner. You must not be streaming Champions League watch along Liverpool versus Real Madrid. So no Champions League watch along for me tonight. I'll be back tomorrow when you guys see this. For yeah, hopefully a double, and then obviously Friday preview. Then we go on to the game. Hopefully a FIFA stream has to be in here somewhere, so I'll get it done for you guys as well, because I know you want to wrap up the career mode, and also start coming up against me as well and battering me as the members. So we'll get back to that soon. So yeah, until next time, big up your damn selves, smash up the like, subscribe if you haven't already. In a bit, people. Peace.